and welcome to Too Many Movies, the podcast where we talk about DVDs, Blu-rays, and the occasional VHS. I'm your guest, Mordo, and today we have our host, Citizen Hal.
You know what? I'll make that the intro. That's fine by me.
Yeah, that was my game plan, just to do that.
That was your game plan?
Yes.
Well, I'm old news now, it seems. Hey, Speaking of old news, you know what was old news? World War II. Hey, speaking of World War II, you know, there's a movie we watched that was on something to do with World War II. Dunkirk. We watched Dunkirk.
Oh, was that on World
today.
War II? I didn't realize. I thought that was something else.
Yeah, no, so Dunkirk took place during World War II.
That would explain the Germans.
That would explain the Germans and the French and the British and...
British?
Yeah. The British, exactly. So anyway, yeah, we watched Dunkirk, a movie by none other than Christopher Nolan, a director we've had before, a movie we've talked about with you, Mordo. You were on the Memento episode.
Yes.
Remember?
Because that was
Remember that time?
No, I forgot. See, Hal, you see, I have this condition...
Yeah,
but yes, I was here for that. And for those who don't know, gang, so here's the game plan. For every time that I come back on this episode, we're gonna talk about a Nolan film at least once.
On this episode, or like on the podcast?
Like on the podcast in general.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. I was just
like every time
pointing out that you misspoke.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, you said this episode. I'm just messing. It's
no,
fine. I knew exactly what you were talking about, though.
But yeah, so this was like, I guess, the running bit gag that we have going for the podcast. Like, anytime I were to come back, we just talk about a Nolan film just one by one.
Yeah,
and so
I think that's a good plan.
And I guess we chose Dunkirk because around the time when we made the decision, I just found this cheap at Barnes & Noble, and I figured, yeah, why not?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad we both agreed on Dunkirk. I think Dunkirk was a good choice. So I know you said you've kind of become a bit of a Nolan fan over the past year or so. Yeah. It's funny because I'm kind of on my way out from being a Nolan fan now.
Oh boy.
When I say that, I'm not saying that like, oh, I hate all his movies. All his movies are overrated and they suck. It's like, no. I love movies like the Dark Knight trilogy and especially Memento. Like if you listen to our episode, like I still hold those opinions. Like I still think Memento is a freaking masterpiece.
Yeah, and it's one of my personal favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, it's one of my personal favorites too. Yeah. I'm just saying I'm not as huge on Nolan with every single one of his movies. Like the dude has made some great movies, don't get me wrong, but he's also made some things that maybe don't hold up well upon rewatch. Now, to be completely fair, I have not rewatched a lot of his movies, and well, maybe that's what this podcast is for. There you go. So I'm glad we rewatched Dunkirk because I have seen it before, and it had been a couple of years since I had seen it originally. So I'm glad I got this a bit of a refresher. I liked it. I did like Dunkirk. Maybe it wasn't an 8 out of 10 like I had originally gave it. I think it's closer to a 6 out of 10 this time.
Yeah,
but
honestly,
it's still good.
Yeah, honestly, I was gonna say like, this was the first time for me to watch it, and honestly, I'm not gonna be honest. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I was not feeling for this movie at first.
Yeah,
I'm not saying like I didn't like it. I enjoyed it. It's pretty good, but I'm here just thinking to myself, this does not feel like a Nolan movie. It kind of doesn't. I see the directorial style. I see it. But, like, I didn't get the much feel of, like, the Nolan theme to, like, his other movies, like Memento or Inception. Because it's just, it feels normal. It feels too normal for a Nolan movie.
I suppose.
But,
yeah, I think because it's actually based off of a real event.
Yeah,
so
that's
maybe
true.
That's why.
Yeah, and I guess this is probably like something I would not expect Nolan to like make. I expected like something original, and I guess where he had more creative balance to it. But with this, like, I can see why, because again, it's based on an event happening in World War II.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So I guess, yeah, when it comes to Nolan at his best, he does have a bit more sci-fi elements to his movies, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, so like stuff like Tenet and Interstellar and even the Dark Knight trilogy. Yeah, those.
Yes.
Inception, even Memento to an extent. Well, Memento not really. I get Memento's a little more grounded, but I think the idea of like a memory loss kind of thing is a little sci-fi when you think about like you know just how like very specific the memory loss is in Memento. And the way it does seem very sci-fi.
And the way how the movie plays out is very creative.
Yes. Whereas Dunkirk is obviously based off of the real like retreat of like the British soldiers off the French coast during World War II. Like this actually happened.
Yeah.
So yes, I can see that because it is actually like a real event that took place. Obviously, it's a fictionalized version of that because I don't think every one of these characters were real. You know, it's a war drama. It's a historical fiction war drama. Like it's akin to, you know, many great war films of cinematic history, stuff like Full Metal Jacket, Platoon, Bridge on the River Kwai. Just thinking of war movies off the top of my head that I've seen.
Black Hawk Down.
Black Hawk Down. That's one I haven't seen, but yeah,
I have seen that one because I own like a 3-disc special edition, super bit deluxe of that because I was trying to find a copy of that because it's a super bit. And
right.
That's something I actually want to talk with you about at a later point.
Well, we'll get to that when we get to that.
Yeah. But I own like a super bit deluxe 3-disc special edition of that. I think it came out in Korea, but I found like a copy of it for like what, $13 on eBay a while back. And I think a cool thing with that edition is that it comes with the CD, like the soundtrack of the movie. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I don't think the original 3-disc special edition has that, so that's like a cool bonus on that. But yeah, Black Hawk Down is another war film I have seen.
Yeah, so when it comes to like war dramas, yeah, it's not gonna. You're not really gonna. As we've been saying, like it's not very sci-fi, which is what Nolan kind of is known for. So it is a different change of pace for sure. I still think he still sneaks in his Nolanisms pretty well. Like, you know, you got the ticking clock, you got the out of order sequences of telling the story. You have like the very crisp cinematography and just like the very tense
and the
score
IMAX
to it.
ratio.
The IMAX aspect ratio. So that's one thing that, I mean, that's something that always just kind of annoys me. So for those who don't know, like the aspect ratio changes in this movie kind of a lot. And as somebody who pays attention to that sort of thing, I really don't like when movies do that. Even a personal favorite movie of mine, another Nolan film, The Dark Knight, does that, where, you know, sometimes you see the black bars and sometimes it's,
I think
you know, there's no black
Rises
bars.
And Dark Knight both did that.
Yeah, I think they did because that's when Nolan started using IMAX cameras, which, I mean, I guess in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. But when you notice those kinds of things, it's kind of distracting. But it is, you know, because like I remember years ago watching the Ralph the Movie Maker review on one of the Transformers movies, and he had pointed out that like every once in a while the aspect ratio changed in that movie like constantly. So then it's just something that like when you notice, you really, really do notice, and it is kind of distracting. I think. I mean, like I was telling you this, I think the aspect ratio change in The Dark Knight is literally the only thing I don't like about that movie. Whereas like everything else is like,
no, it's just so
freaking awesome.
Like, why can't you just say one aspect ratio or just have it?
Yeah.
Or actually, one thing, I can't think. Why don't you just make it the entire thing IMAX? Like,
I think that's where it like becomes really expensive, but then it's like, I understand what you're coming, and I agree. It's like either, you know, all of it IMAX or none of it IMAX is what I would say. Like, like why you would do this, like combination of the two is just kind of weird.
It's just saying that IMAX is like the thing because like you don't have like the bars, you get like the full view of everything, like in a 16:9 ratio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or 16:9 ratio,
yeah. And that's pretty cool. And I just was like, why don't you just do that for all movies? Just have it entirely like that. No black bars or anything. You just get the perfect view of everything. I guess that's why Zack Snyder's Justice League was just so different with its ratio like that. So you can get like a better picture of the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why not, I don't know, like, then go into the editing room and then, like, I don't know, either put the black bars there or take them out completely. Like, I don't know, just like, the fact that like you're putting out a finished product and there's differing aspect ratios, again, like, as somebody who notices these things, it's very distracting. Like, it kind of takes you out of the movie, you know?
Yeah.
Just, like I've been saying, either have it all be black bars or none of it be black bars. It doesn't really matter to me. Just choose one.
Yeah. I will say, though, I should probably rewatch Dark Knight just to, like, see how much it changes. But with this one, it felt like, for the most part, like, most of it felt like it was in IMAX. Because, like, when I was starting, I'm just like, I think I was like, what felt like 20 minutes in? I'm just like, oh, that's weird. The black bars haven't kicked in yet. I figured it'd change like that. Or is it just going to be like that this whole movie? And I'm just back here thinking, okay, I'll stick with this ratio then. Like, oh, there it is. Never mind.
Yeah, I think here, this is the movie where it's the least distracting that I've seen so far where this happens.
Yeah, because it feels like it's used in that format, like, possibly, I'd say, like, somewhere around 80%, 75 maybe?
Sure.
Yeah, or it felt like in Dark Knight, it really went back and forth so much.
Yeah, it's just weird. But, I mean, if, you know, again, I would say probably the aspect ratio annoys me. I mean, the other thing that annoys me about this movie, and I guess annoyed is kind of a strong word, because I can't really say I hate this movie. I actually did have a nice time rewatching it, and I'm glad I did rewatch it. But I think another thing that kind of does annoy me, and this goes into, like, you know, my annoyance with historical dramas in general, is that I feel like I would have gotten a lot more out of this movie if it was like a straight up documentary and not just like a fictionalized version of a real event. You know, because I don't know, just like making a movie out of a real life event just is a little weird to me. I feel like you can do it right, but you know, there are those examples of it not being done right. I think this falls somewhere in the middle where it's like, it does a good job, but I would have preferred like an actual documentary. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes. Honestly, like, I can see what you mean, because, like, when it comes to following along, like, I didn't really have much of, like attachment to most of these characters, and I'm just thinking, like, there isn't much character to these cast, and it just feels too normal. Like the main trio that's trying to like get home and stuff like that. I don't feel like they just do much.
Yeah, you don't really get a sense that they're characters. This is more of an ensemble cast, but you know, I don't know. Yeah, you don't really attach yourself to anybody because, I mean, the acting is fine overall. Like, even from someone like Harry Styles, who is notoriously not very good at anything he does. But like,
that's right, folks. Harry Styles himself is
Yeah, which you'd think is very distracting, and at first you're just like, hey, it's Harry Styles, how distracting.
I find that so funny, just Harry Styles in a Nolan movie. That's the last thing I ever expect.
Yeah, but he works for the most part, because, I mean, he's just being a scruffy young British soldier, and, like, you know, he's not on camera that often. Like, he's used very sparingly, and I feel like he works like that. It's like, okay, when he's not the main focus, it's great. And I think he does do a legit good job. It's like, wow, how refreshing to not be annoyed by Harry Styles in a movie.
I will say, though, like, part of me, I'm just here just thinking, where the fuck is Harry Styles? Where is that him? I don't look like him.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he does blend in because, you know, a lot of the other characters are just like these tall, lanky British white boys, covered in muck and grime from the war. It's like, so but when you do notice him, you're just like, oh, that's him.
I thought he was actually Peter, the guy on the boat, the blonde kid.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so that boat. There's several boats.
I thought that was Harry Styles, because I thought Harry Styles is blonde.
No, he's, well, maybe someday he'll be blonde.
No, wait, he's not.
No, he's not. I don't think he's naturally blonde. I don't know.
Why did I thought that? I don't know why. I'm crazy.
I mean, there's plenty of other, like, pop singers who are blonde. They all meld together because they're all just, like, made in the same factory, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought that.
No,
why did I thought that? So I thought he was blonde.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. But yeah, no, he was great. A lot of the actors are really good. Like Mark Rylance is in that. He plays the British father who's like, driving the boat. That was Cillian Murphy as like the shaking soldier who ended up killing Barry Keoghan. Barry Keoghan's in this movie. Yeah, I'm just naming all these like really great actors.
Yeah, who was like scared as hell of going back.
Yeah, it's great. Like I love that he's I love that, and I love how like at some point in the movie, like you actually see him before he's like stranded. Like there's that scene where like the main guy and Harry Styles are trying to like swim up into the boat, and he's just like, "Sorry, boys, no room." And then it cuts back to him currently on the boat with Barry Keoghan and Mark Rylance, and how he's just like, "We can't go back. Like it's a part of me does appreciate the editing for being out of yeah, well that's the thing. It's like like this movie's told out of order. Like certain scenes happen.
I didn't even know it was told out of order. I didn't even notice.
Yeah, no, it is. It's not as upfront about its weird editing choices like Memento is, but like with Memento it made sense because
it's a story going backwards.
It's a story going backwards, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Whereas like here, it's being told out of order really just because Nolan feels like he can do that.
Okay, well, I guess that's how the Nolan style really kicks in. Like, again, I guess I just didn't notice that, and that's why I just felt like this didn't feel like a Nolan movie. Like, I wouldn't know this was made by Nolan if you told me.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but like I'm saying, like that's one of those moments like where you see like him on the boat when he's like before the event happens, and then it's like him on the boat like scared shitless. It's like that I'm okay with, but like that's like the only time I'm okay with the movie being told out of order. The rest of it I'm just like, this really doesn't need to be like this. He just wants to do it because Nolan loves making complicated movies, so he can be like, oh, see how I did this? Isn't this interesting? Isn't this unique? It's just like, yeah, ooh, like waving keys in our face. It's like, yeah, great. You're doing an okay job, but it's like, what does this have to do with the rest of the movie? You could have told it in order and nothing would necessarily be different.
Yeah, you didn't make the Dark Knight trilogy that complicated, now did you?
No, well, the Dark Knight trilogy is a superhero trilogy, so
that's true.
That's a different kind of thing. But no, I completely see where you're coming from. Sure.
Speaking of which, now that we brought that up, yeah, I have to say, I think Fosse, the most scenes I probably enjoyed most was the Peter and George story.
Mm-hmm. So that's like the normal British the normal British citizens on the boat going to pick up soldiers.
Yes.
Yes.
I can follow along with these characters well. Like they got character. Like I know what their journey's for, what they're here for, and of course, I felt bad for Peter when George got hurt and then he was blind and then he didn't make it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's an interesting aspect that you don't necessarily see a lot in war movies. When it comes to war movies, you kind of expect to be in like a platoon of soldiers and they're going through like all these bloody battles and stuff like that. Like this is an interesting aspect that I don't think gets brought up as often. Like the fact that like normal British citizens were like, volunteering to bring their boats out across the English Channel to the French coast side to like help rescue these British soldiers in need of retreat. Like that's an interesting aspect, but like, that's only one part of this movie. And I feel like if you really expanded upon that, the movie would be a lot more interesting because it's like you're learning about an aspect of World War II that hasn't really been brought up as often. And I feel like that's an interesting aspect. Like I would rather want to learn about that like in great detail because that's such a fascinating idea. But again, it's only one part of this movie, so it kind of gets drowned out through the other stuff.
Yeah, I will say that I did like what Peter did at the end, where he put George's name in the article saying he was a hero. I respect that. That was nice.
Yeah, and it is a little melancholy because it's like, what exactly did he do on that trip? Like he just volunteered, and then he gets pushed by the soldier and then he like gets his head hurt and then he dies. But it's like,
I wish there were the more sick characters, but like I enjoyed them.
Yeah, like, and it's a kind of a melancholic. The reason I say it's kind of melancholic because it's like, well, what did he actually do? But now he's being praised and heralded as a hero. It's like, it's very melancholic because like, did he actually do anything, or was he showing up enough to be considered a hero? And I feel like that ties into, the scene when Harry Styles and the main boy, which I think his name's like Fionn Whitehead or something like that. He was in the Bandersnatch movie. That's literally the only other thing I know him from. But anyway, like the two of them are like walking down those train tracks, and there's that blind guy like giving them blankets and stuff and being like, good job, men, or like, well done, boys.
Isn't that shoot, I forgot his name. Michael Caine.
No, that's not Michael Caine. Michael Caine is in this movie. He plays he's the voice on the
on Tom Hardy's plane.
Yeah, he's like talking to Tom Hardy and the other fighter jet.
I thought that was him at the end.
No, that's John Nolan. I don't know. I think he has some relation to Christopher Nolan because obviously the name is Nolan.
Isn't that his brother, Jonathan Nolan?
It might be.
I think so because I think he wrote.
I don't know.
No, because I remember because I think he wrote a story called Memento Mori, which played along with Memento.
I don't know. He seems kind of old to be a brother. He might be the father, but I don't know.
Wait.
I really don't know. But anyway, yeah, he's the one who's just been like, well done, men, well done, boys. And, Harry Styles is just like, all we did was survive. And the guy's just like, oh, that's enough. So it's like kind of this weird thing where it's like, what did we actually accomplish here? But like, no matter what.
No, on Wikipedia it says it's his brother.
It's his brother. Oh, interesting. I didn't know.
Also, fun fact, you can actually find the story of Memento Mori on the Memento DVD. You just got to go through, the chaotic puzzle through the bonus features.
Yeah. Learn about it on our episode.
Yes.
But yeah, as I was saying, like, like that kind of, I guess that ties into what the movie's all about. Like, what is actually a hero and, what actually deserves recognition. The fact that Barry Keoghan's character just kind of goes on the boat on a whim, ends up dying, but still gets heralded as a hero. And, same thing with the British soldiers. Like, all they did was just, survive, not getting bombed by the Germans. And, like the blind man said, that's enough. So, like,
it's long enough to tell the tale.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting aspect that I feel like you don't often see in other movies, and I'm glad this movie brings it up. So, I don't know. It's interesting. That's one of those aspects of this movie I do like. I can't say it makes me fall in love with the film because, again, like, the overcomplicated editing and the fact that it is a fictionalized version of a real life event, those are things that kind of hold me back from truly loving this movie. So, I don't know. It is a good movie, I will say. Like, no matter how many criticisms I have with it, it is a good movie.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, I just wouldn't say it. It's obviously never going to be a favorite of Nolan's.
Yeah,
for me personally.
Honestly, so far, I think this has to be my least favorite Nolan movie. Like,
interesting.
On its own, it's good, but if you're coming in as a Nolan enthusiast, you might want to pass on this one.
Yeah, I'd say it's worth watching at least once. I've seen it twice, and I wouldn't mind watching it again. I would just sooner rewatch Memento and the Dark Knight trilogy way more often. Mm-hmm. So, do you have anything else you wanted to say before we get into talking about?
Yeah, shout out to my boy Tom Hardy. Dude carried that flight fleet.
Yeah. I remember there was like this time when people were like saying like if you have Tom Hardy in your movie, like you never really see his face.
Because I was looking at the cast like, oh, Tom Hardy's in this. Oh, that's the guy on the plane. I didn't notice that. And then at the end, when he's like taken prison by the Germans, like, oh yeah, that's Tom Hardy. I just didn't recognize the face at first.
I know. Well, that's the thing. Like, I remember seeing this meme where like people were saying like you never see Tom Hardy's face even when he's acting in a movie, because in The Dark Knight Rises he had the Bane mask. In Mad Max Fury Road he had like a thing covering his face for most of it, and in Dunkirk he has like the plane
wasn't he in Inception,
goggles on.
He
was in Inception,
okay,
so you did see his face clearly there. So I think it was
just a weird thing with Nolan movies. With each Nolan movie you got to have Tom Hardy and Michael Caine.
Well, Michael Caine especially. Tom Hardy has only been in, I think, well, according to the Letterboxd, he's only been in 3.
Okay.
Yeah. Michael Caine, yeah, especially, which I liked. Michael Caine was in this as just the voice you hear on the airplane intercom. But, like, you know, when it comes to something like Tenet, and he just shows up for one scene, it's a bit distracting. It's like, all right, Nolan, he doesn't have to be in every single one of your movies. Like, you know, let him act in other things like Cars 2.
It's like,
you know?
it's like, oh my, yeah, that's right. He was in Cars 2. It's like how like, Sam Raimi brings Bruce Campbell in for a cameo.
Yeah, but those are funny because like Sam Raimi makes funny movies, so like that makes sense. And spooky, exactly. Yeah. So,
okay.
All right.
And one last thing I have to say. Honestly,
okay,
I think for the
ahead.
longest time when I was aware of the movie Dunkirk, but I guess part of me just thought, is that the main character's name? His name is Dunkirk.
It's Mr. Dunkirk himself.
That's Mr. Dunkirk, sir.
Yeah, exactly. That must be somebody's name. But
sounds like a name.
Who knows? Yeah, it is a good name. It's a fun name to say, Dunkirk.
Yeah.
All right, then. I will say, I guess to wrap this up, I do not own this on Blu-ray. I thought I did. I must have gotten rid of it years ago before I even started the podcast. But in terms of whether I would own it on Blu-ray, I don't think so. So, like I've said, I think it's a good movie, but it's not one I'm like passionate for in any real way. Like, I like it. I think it's a good Nolan movie. I recommend people watch it. But, you know, I don't know. It's just not one you could rewatch a whole lot. And I guess owning it on Blu-ray just really wouldn't compare to seeing it in the theater. Like, that's the thing. I have never seen this movie in theaters, and I feel like this is a movie that was made for the movie theaters. And so when you watch it on your normal TV setup at home, I don't know, the impact just isn't there. So sadly, this will not be joining my collection. But, you know, that's what this podcast is for. We figure these things out. But did you say you own it?
Yeah, I did. Like I said, I watched this on the DVD because a few months back, I was at Barnes and Noble and I found this, and I think it was like what, $5 or $5.99 or so. I'm like, oh yeah, this is cheap. I might as well buy this. And it's like it's a 2-disc set. So like the second disc would have like a special feature. It says, join Christopher Nolan and his production team on their epic journey to recreate the miracle of Dunkirk, equipped with enlarged format cameras, a nation of effects, historical naval and air fleets, and scores of actors, filmmakers. Some I can't fucking read this shit. I try to do like how Chris would read like something with like sound so cool doing so. I do want to say it's been a month since all this happened. We've been through a lot, guys. I'm not sure if you guys know, but yeah. It's been a crazy month, but yeah, here we are. We're still kicking, and we're getting better at it.
Yeah, and that's why we do this podcast. I need this podcast now more than ever. So.
Oh yeah. I will say though, it does feel weird. Like when I didn't notice this at first, but like when I was playing it last night, like when the DVD menu opens up, like it cuts to them like when they were like walking through like the like streets of Dunkirk with the papers falling like that. Like it does that, and it gives me like the option to play movies and stuff like that. And then it cuts to like a black screen with the logo just like closely zooming in, and then it just stops. And I'm like, that's the menu, and you just leave me in silence. That was just boring. At least it ain't like just like that whole copy paste bullshit with like the newer like Warner DVDs now. But it's like
that's true. Yeah,
boring. I at least have a bit of like give me like I don't know like footage or clips of just the movie or something like that. Don't just do that and just leave me on a black screen with like the options in the menu like there. It does that on both DVDs, and it's just okay. That was dumb.
Yeah, that's a modern DVD for you.
Well, I mean, it could be worse. I'll give you that. It could be worse. I mean, at least the other menus had like images from the film and stuff like that. Like, it doesn't give you like a bland wallpaper. So
that's true.
Yeah, it could be worse, but
it could be worse. But it ain't no Superbit DVD.
God.
Speaking of Superbit DVDs, that brings us into our next movie. If you want to move on.
Well, I mean, with your copy, I don't think it really somewhat counts because it doesn't have the generic Superbit menu. It feels like a normal DVD of Panic Room.
Panic Room. That's our second movie today, and our first David Fincher film on the podcast.
I've heard this guy.
I want to know before So before we get into Panic Room, have you watched much from David Fincher?
I'm sorry, I was clearing my throat. I don't think I have. Also,
okay.
I just want to point out, everyone, if I sound off today, I've been sick.
Yeah. I feel like I've been a little sick too.
Yeah, I've been sick the past 2 weeks, but I'm recovering. I'm doing better.
Yeah.
Just my nose issues and my voice just sounds a bit off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think I've seen much of David Fincher. Like, I know he's aware of for like Nightclub, Fight Club. Why did I say it? I can't think.
Yeah, he's done stuff like Fight Club, Seven, Zodiac, The Social Network, Alien Cubed, which he does not look back on fondly.
Alien Cube, you said?
Yeah, that's the third Alien movie that nobody really likes.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was like something else.
No, it's Alien 3, but because the 3 is smaller and in the corner,
that's why you said it like that. Okay.
Yeah, I call it Alien Cubed because it's funny. That was his first movie. So I guess you could only go up from here. Apparently he doesn't like Panic Room either. Like, he doesn't look back on Panic Room as fondly. Which, I mean, I get it, sort of, because it's not like, it's not like Fight Club or The Social Network or Seven, where like, those are like iconic movies that he's like most famous for and have like kind of cemented themselves as part of like cinematic history. So I get it.
Wait, Andrew Garfield was in Social Network? Okay.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Okay,
fuck you, flip-flops.
That's a quote.
But that is a quote. But so I don't know. I didn't hate Panic Room. I actually thought it was
good.
It was fine. It was good. It was like it really is an early 2000s thriller.
Like, it came out in 2002.
Yeah, 2002. It certainly looks and feels like a 2002 thriller movie, especially like the dated CGI aspects to it. I don't know if you noticed.
I can kind of see what you mean.
Yeah. I mean, I'm quite nostalgic for that kind of CGI, but it is noticeable for sure. So if you're not a fan of obvious CGI,
I could care less if CGI is bad or not. I just want to enjoy a good movie.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this movie does a good job. It has a unique and interesting story. I will say, I think it's kind of funny that, like, it's called Panic Room. So obviously, obviously the movie starts off by showing off that, like, oh, there's a panic room in this house, and they're like, we'll take it. And it's like, oh, and then immediately the first night they stay there, they have to use the panic room. It's just like, it's one of those things where it's just oh, how convenient.
It's interesting because when I was watching it, I'm just like, oh, okay, we're just jumping right into the plot, like not like a few days or anything like that. Just like, oh, okay, first night they're breaking in.
So I do appreciate that it's like kind of quick to the chase, but then it's like, I don't know, I just think it's kind of convenient screenwriting wise, how it's just like, oh, the first night we happen to stay in this house is the night we use the panic room. Yeah, exactly. But like, so what did you think of Panic Room, Mordo?
What the fuck? Jared Leto's in this?
That's right, Morbius himself.
No, like when I saw like the opening credits, I saw Jared Leto. I'm like, oh, what the fuck?
I know how it's like. So the opening credits, how like they have like all the names like floating through New York, and like his name is like on like that side of the building. It just says Jared Leto, and it's just like, oh,
Jared Leto jump scare.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that we're in a post Morbius world, and so now every time we watch a Jared Leto movie, we're always just gonna be like, "Hey, Morbius."
That's Morbius.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I think like my review is just like, I said something else and I ended with, and why the fuck is Morbius here?
Yeah. Well, let me just say, like, I actually really found Jared Leto entertaining in this movie. Now,
yeah, surprisingly, he was kind of good.
I don't know if that's because he was good in the movie or if I just find the existence of Jared Leto funny now. Just because, after Morbius and the Suicide Squad Joker, it's like the dude is kind of a living meme now.
Me down, bury me.
That's the second time this song is played on the podcast.
Wait, seriously?
Oh, did you not? So I guess I can get into this. A couple episodes ago when I had John and William on the podcast,
of course, William.
We talked about the Dark Crystal and Labyrinth. During our Labyrinth discussion, William brought up the fact that like David Bowie once played a character in a Scooby-Doo movie that was based off of two people. One, the Goblin King version that David Bowie played in the movie Labyrinth, and two, Dr. Michael Morbius. And so he told me to play the song while he was explaining that.
The animals are leaving.
Yeah, the animals are leaving. Such a classic. But anyway, Jared Leto, Panic Room, he was really funny. Like, he was just such a scuzzy piece of shit, and I liked that he was just such a weirdo. And like, the fact that he's just like this white guy with cornrows just made it even funnier. Just like the way he acted. And then he dies.
Yeah, like he dies like halfway through. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were going to kill him off, but okay, we just killed off Jared Leto.
Yeah, which it was kind of a shocking scene, and I liked how it was handled, and I liked the gore on him because like it genuinely looks like he got his head blown off, just like the bullet hole, the size of the bullet hole.
Yeah, that was good. I think I just rewind that just to see that. Like, god damn.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, that's the thing about this movie. It's really cool. Like it's a movie you would definitely find in like the early 2000s. You like plop the disc in the DVD player and you just watch it. Like, it's not connected to any cinematic universe. It's not some heady A24 horror film. It's not some subversion. It's a standard action thriller from the early 2000s. Like it's a very nice movie for what it is, and I appreciated it. Was entertaining to watch for sure.
Yeah.
Did you recognize that was Kristen Stewart as the little girl?
Like, I mean, like I knew she was in the movie, but I mean, like, yeah, but like I don't think I know much about what Kristen Stewart all did. I know the name sounds familiar.
She was Bella in Twilight.
I haven't seen Twilight.
Okay, neither have I, but I'm just familiar from the freaking stranglehold it had on pop culture for years, Twilight. So like I recognized her. Apparently, according to the Letterboxd, this is the only movie I've ever seen her in because I have not watched Twilight yet. But like, yeah, it's interesting just because like, you recognize her as Bella from Twilight, and then she just looks like a 12-year-old in this movie because she was a 12-year-old in this movie. I just want to say, looking at the Letterboxd banner, she looks like Edward Furlong from Terminator 2. And I just think that's really funny. But anyway, like, I feel like that's kind of the main takeaway I got from watching this movie was that it was like this really fun, nothing too grand kind of action thriller from the early 2000s. Like, I keep saying that, but like that's exactly what I got out of it, Yeah,
pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's nothing like overall exciting. It's just like, oh, it's these three men breaking into a house and the two residents in there, they're trapped in a panic room and they're hoping for them to get out. And apparently they want something that's inside that room, and it, of course, money.
Yeah, we've got to have money. Yeah.
And of course, he says at first they realize, oh shit, they're here already? This is awkward.
Yeah, exactly. One of my favorite characters has to be Forrest Whitaker as Burnham.
Yes! Oh my god, I love him.
I think you said in your review, like, you were kind of rooting for him.
I was rooting for him. I
honestly kind of was too. I was rooting for him over Jodie Foster. And it's like, I know, like, Jodie Foster and Kristen Stewart are like the victims here, but like, I kind of wanted Forrest Whitaker to get away with the money.
With Burnham, you like with his character, like, he feels bad for doing this for the most part. Like, he feels bad that they're here already doing this, and like they don't want them to get hurt. And of course, with Raoul and I don't know what the other guy's name, Jared Leto.
Jared Leto.
I guess they're a bit more like aggressive, but with him, like, he's soft. He doesn't like to have them hurt. He just wants to get what he wants, just get away with it, nothing else. But
it's a villain. It's an antagonist with a set of moral codes, and like you can with a heart, like, and that you gotta really get right. Especially, you know, because especially when we're living in an age of sympathetic villains, I feel like you really do need to get that right, or else you're just going to come across as really scummy and like just really idiotic. So like, and I feel like all three of these villains, or antagonists, I should say, well, they're villains, let's be real, because they are robbing a house, but like, you know, each of them has their own set of moral codes, and like each leads to some really interesting characters, I must say, even though we don't get a whole lot from them. Like, you know, with Forrest Whitaker, you're told that, you know, he has like a family, he has a job, but like he's still doing this. So you're like, oh, why is he doing this? And I don't know if it's necessarily ever explained, but I kind of like that. Like, there's a bit of mystery to him, but like you still kind of want him to kind of get the money, even though he is robbing these people. True. And then you got Jared Leto, who's just a deranged idiot.
Oh, his name is Junior in the movie. What?
Yeah, his name's Junior. And like, yeah, you find out eventually, like, oh, he's actually related to the guy who was there, and he technically is inheriting the money, or he wants to inherit it, and that's why he's there. Right. But he's just kind of like this idiot, and you're just like, but like he's an entertaining asshole for sure. Like, you know, you love just to see him be like this huge dickhead to everybody, and how he's just like, you know, mucking about, and he's just like this gigantic moron, but it's entertaining. And then you have Raoul, who is just like
downright
scary,
cruel, like scary. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You got your idiot partner, your scary one, and then you got your sympathy.
You know what? It's kind of like the villains in Puss in Boots. You got the sympathetic villain, which is Goldilocks. You got the entertaining asshole, which is Jack Horner, and then you got the straight up scary motherfucker, Death, which is Death. Like,
yeah. Oh my god.
I can't believe I'm comparing Panic Room to Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, but here we are.
Wait, yeah, it makes sense. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Also, I do want to point out, I actually did get the Blu-ray recently. I bought the Target exclusive.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Nice. I still got to.
Because money. It's pretty cool.
Money. Money. I know. Maybe I should rob a brownstone apartment with a Panic Room.
All right, let's go.
Just to buy Puss in Boots: The Last Wish on 4K. It's for a good cause, I swear. No, I will not be doing that. Do not worry. I am not crime.
Kids, don't try this at home.
Don't try this at home. But yeah, no, I think that's what makes this movie a little more entertaining than maybe what it probably could have been. The three villains definitely add, and I had already talked about like the CGI earlier, but I feel like, you know, it seems like the panning shot, like I don't know if you remember, like at the beginning when, like, you know, Jodie Foster and Kristen Stewart go to bed, and then like it's panning throughout the house, and you can see them behind the windows like trying to sneak in, and it's like panning through, like, and a lot of it used CGI just because I guess they just didn't have it in the budget to like actually construct the camera going through the house in different ways.
This movie does have an interesting directorial style. I'm not sure if that's how it's like for most of David Fincher's movies, but like, yeah, I can see there's like a style going with how it's filmed.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what Fincher's style is. I'm not a huge Fincher head as much as some other people out there are. Right. But I think it is it is filmed in a way that it does seem familiar to other Fincher films for sure. But yeah, it leads to some really interesting camera angles, some really interesting shots. Like it does add a style to the movie, like a tense style to it. But like I've been saying, like the CGI is just still a little weird because of that. So like,
I didn't mind it that much. I'm not one to really like be nitpicky with most stuff. Being like,
right,
oh, this looks weird or stuff like that. I'm just here to just enjoy a good movie, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm too, because like I grew up in the 2000s, so I'm used to this kind of stuff. But it is something that I notice, so it's something that I like to point out for sure.
Yeah, but I get what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. It's still an interesting style, even if it does look dated. But yeah, honestly, that's all I really got for this movie. I had fun watching it. I also wanted to point out, I actually pointed this out in my Letterboxd review. I recognized one of the actors playing a bit part in this movie. It was one of the officers who like knocked on Jodie Foster's door and was asking if everything's all right. One of them is played by a guy who played a character in The Sopranos.
I'm reading it right now.
Yeah, yeah, he plays Father Intantola, who's not a huge character on The Sopranos, but the fact that I recognized him immediately, I'm just like, holy shit, it's him from The Sopranos, just because I'm such a huge fan of The Sopranos now.
Yeah, I can tell because if you guys, I'm sure you guys don't even notice, but I'm looking at Hal's icon right now. It's just Tony Soprano.
Yeah, I'm in my Sopranos arc right now. I can't help it.
Now I just got to get James to watch it because he puts Tony Soprano somewhere hidden in his thumbnails. That's like his running bit now.
Yeah. That's his running bit. I'm sort of pissed that he's turned Tony Soprano into a meme, but at the same time, I can't really stop him. So, like, what are you going to do? But, yeah, so, was there anything else you wanted to say about Panic Room before we get talking about the DVD specifically?
I will say, though, with the house and with the Panic Room itself, Panic Room just feels really like, has a little bit of a sci-fi feel to it. It just feels so metallic and everything from separates everything from the house. And it was just so interesting because it feels so. It's really like a way like eerie vibe to it. Like feels like
it kind of reminded me of like Aliens or like something from like the Alien movies.
Yeah,
just like the constant screens and stuff like that. It also reminded me of that one episode of Family Guy when they're in the panic room, which I'm wondering if that was intentional. Like, I'm wondering if that movie, if that episode came out the same time as this movie.
I did not care for The Godfather.
Yeah, exactly. We have your son. Maybe. That's our daughter, Meg. Really?
That's possibly like a reference. Like I know that, and like the other thing I can think of Panic Room was like the one time when Candace was trying to hide away from all the robot replicas of Phineas and Ferb, and then she calls her mom, just, "Mom, I'm in the Panic Room."
She's in the Panic Room. That's right. Oh, that's right. Phineas and Ferb referencing Panic Room.
I don't think it was like a full-on reference because it didn't look like exactly like the Panic Room there, but it's just like I think when I heard of Panic Room, I think that was like the one thing I just thought about was that one scene.
Yeah, that one scene. That's so funny.
Yeah,
that's funny. Oh yeah, wasn't there a scene in this movie when like Jodie Foster, because they're like filling the Panic Room with propane and Jodie Foster lights it on fire, but then like all the fires like in the ceiling area. Is that how it works? I don't know. That seemed pretty far-fetched for a movie, but again, I'm no scientist, so I'm no propane expert. I'm no Hank Hill.
I have no idea. I have not rewatched it for the podcast, but I figured I knew everything about the movie so far, so I didn't think I'd have to. But I mean, I probably have to rewatch it. But I mean, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was just kind of a weird scene for me. I'm just like, really, you're gonna blow up the propane tank and the Panic Room is just fine? I don't know. Just, okay, Hollywood magic, whatever. So, yeah, you wanted to get into the DVD? Because I have quite a bit to say about this DVD that I have.
Well, I also have quite a bit to say about this DVD that I have.
Yeah. So you have a Superbit DVD. I have a Superbit DVD.
Well, actually, I don't.
Yours is much nicer. Oh, you don't?
I
thought you said you did.
No, I mean, the Superbit labels, like, with yours, the Superbit labels on there, yes. But, like, with most Superbit DVDs, like, they're really bare bones, and, like, they try to take a lot out of, like, most DVDs just for there be more storage for just the film for the best picture and quality. But with most Superbit DVDs, they would have, like, a generic DVD menu to it. Like, it would all just look the same.
Okay.
Like no like bonus features or anything or
Okay, because mine did have bonus features. Which
like,
actually, can I mention that?
Yes.
One of the bonus features on there was filmographies, and all it was you selected it. So by the way, it was an animated menu. It was animated to look like the Panic Room.
Yes.
Yeah.
But with most Superbit menus, you just have like the cool flashy Superbit logo, and then just still menu.
Interesting. Okay, so mine wasn't that, but like it still says Superbit on the DVD. But anyway, I selected this thing called filmographies, and all it is just like going through the director, the writer, and all the actors, like all other things they've been a part of. So like it said David Fincher, and you looked at David Fincher's filmography, and because this was released in 2002, all it had was Fight Club, The Game, Seven, and Panic Room. It did not include Alien Cubed, funnily enough. Suspicious.
Did Alien Cube come out before?
It was his first movie. Yeah, it was from 92. So
that was his debut?
That was his debut movie, was Alien Cubed. Isn't that funny?
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it came out a full decade before this movie, and it doesn't mention it in the filmography section. Suspicious.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But then it has other stuff. So like the screenwriter, David Cope, I think that's how you say his name. He wrote like the screenplay for Jurassic Park and the first Spider-Man movie. So he's they mentioned that stuff. Actually, did he even write? Yeah, he did. He did write the screenplay for Jurassic Park. I'm right. And the screenplay for Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and Kimmy and The Mummy 2017. What? Oh. Don't go on this guy's Letterboxd page. Worst mistake of my life. But anyway, like it was just kind of an interesting DVD feature. How it's just like listing their it's just like listing the movies that they've been a part of. Like it reminded me of like when I did the Halloween franchise way back when, on my old Halloween 3 DVD, like it had recommendations, and it was literally just PNG images of like The Thing DVD or like Village of the Damned DVD, because they were John Carpenter movies. It's just such a weird thing to put on a menu. Like you wouldn't put trailers or advertisements for these movies. Like you just put like
early like Universal DVDs do something like that.
Yeah, it's just strange to me. It was very weird, I must say. But yeah, do you want to? Why don't you talk a little bit about your DVD if you have something to say on it?
I mean, I have a bit to say. Actually, I think there's a bit of story to this. But yeah, I want to point out, the version you have is like the standard version, and of course, it's bare bones. It doesn't have much bonus features to it, which would explain why it's labeled as a super bit for some reason, because that's what they're for. They're just for the better picturing quality and sound for the movie. You don't get any bonus features unless
it did look great, I will say.
Yeah, unless like a movie got like a super bit deluxe release where like the second disc would just be the bonus features. Or some did get that.
Right.
But I have a bit of story about this one. Because,
do tell.
Yes, so on the thing, on Wikipedia, it says, Panic Room was first released on VHS and DVD on September 17th, 2022. The studio produced VHS copies only for rental and not for sale, believing that owners of DVD players would most likely buy the film. The studio used design from the theatrical release poster for the video cover, where Fincher wanted a black cover that would differ from the poster. Through pre-visualization, supervisor Ron Frankel wanted to include materials to show storyboard animation. The DVD was released as a single disc edition with no commentary or other features. Fincher also chose not to include the DVD scenes filled with Nicole Kidman before she was placed with Jodie Foster. Okay, that's an interesting thing. In its first week, the film was the film ranked second in DVD sales after Monsters Inc., though it ranked first in DVD rentals. In March 2024, the studio released a special edition DVD, which consists of 3 discs. 2 provided features of the pre-production, production, and post-production processes for the film. The DVD also had several commentary tracks, including one by the director, author John T. Cradwell. Cites the special DVD of Panic Room is an example of demonstrating the directorial control of aesthetically elevate the film. And A Blu-ray version is yet to be released.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
so like, not even a normal Blu-ray version has been released.
No, yeah, none.
Wow.
I know, it's crazy.
That's great. That is crazy. Wow.
Yeah, if Sony is not like of all this time, Sony's not even decided to even done that yet. And if they even or if they're not even going to tend to, hey Criterion, get in on this.
That would be an interesting Criterion Panic Room. That's interesting.
Who else would do it? maybe a third party, maybe, but I don't know.
Maybe Shout. Maybe not
Shout.
Vinegar Syndrome, because this isn't that culty, but I mean, it's not impossible.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Honestly, I would love to see a Criterion of Memento. I'd kill for that, but if they do it, please make it feel like a homage to the original special edition DVD. I would love for that. Oh,
undoubtedly. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Yeah. Yeah, yes. No, that's interesting that it's not on Blu-ray. Because, again, it's not one of Fincher's more iconic films, but, like, I don't know, they put other stuff on Blu-ray before this. Like, really? I don't know, that's just weird to me, because, like, then it's like, if it's not put on a nicer Blu-ray, like, is it going to eventually be considered, well, I guess it wouldn't really be considered lost media, because, it has a letterbox page. It was still put on DVD, so, like,
yeah.
You can still play it, but like, I don't know. Yeah, that's just so weird to me.
It's not hard to find like a DVD copy of this movie, or at least the special edition. I was able to find this. I would find this actually pretty much not that far from me. I found this like at a vintage stock at the West County Mall.
Right. I don't know. It's just weird that like they just will not put it on Blu-ray. I don't know. Maybe someday they will. It's just taking a while. So
yeah, I hope so. That's just. But yeah. But like I said, I own the 3-disc special edition, which has more bonus features than the standard one, which I'd recommend that you'd get and throw that shit away. But yeah, it has commentary on the first disc, and then you have your pre-production and the standard production for disc 2, and then a little bit of production and post-production on disc 3. And it would just tell you all the other, like, all the stuff, like, it means and stuff like that. And yeah, I think that's pretty cool to make up for the bare bones standard edition that they made. I will say though, the DVD menus are really different from the standard edition. Like, and instead of like it being like the animation of the Panic Room, it's like a somewhat of like a sketch blueprint of the house itself, and it just has like little pinpoints of like where it'll take you for like. And okay, I have to talk about what happens when you put in disc 1, because it's just so fucking cool. So here's the thing. When you boot up disc 1, when the Columbia TriStar Home Entertainment logo starts up, then you have like I think like the all like the warning signs and stuff like that. And then when the DVD menu boots up, you see the Columbia Pictures logo. It just starts up with that, with the theme play and everything, and then it just zooms in, and then like it's like I guess it like takes you through the clouds or something like that, and then like it starts making this 3D like blueprint model of the house, and then takes you to the menu, and when you hit play movie, it takes you back to the Columbia Pictures logo. Does like the zoom out and everything like that, and it was like so fucking cool.
That's interesting. Is that implying that the Columbia logo is heaven?
I don't know, but it was just a really like weird like meta feel of the menu, and I thought that was really fucking cool. And I can post I can probably like send you a video where I found like an opening to that.
Yeah, please do, because I really want to. I want people to see this. I want to see this.
Yeah, so when I saw that, I'm just like, okay, I want to buy this DVD now. That looks cool.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
It gave me like Memento vibes. How like interesting like the DVD menu felt.
Yeah. I don't know. That's awesome.
But yeah, I kind of just wished like after it did that, I just wish it just jumped right back into. I just wish it just jumped into the movie and not play the logo again within like the movie itself.
Yeah, that seems like what it was setting it up for.
I wish it
doesn't do that.
Like it really did. It really did. Like it felt like it was going to do that. Then it plays the logo again when the movie starts up. But it's like, no, I wish it just jumps right into like the credits. Don't play the logo
that would have
again.
Been perfect.
That would. Oh my god, that would have been just. Oh my god.
Yeah, but no, that still sounds awesome. Like that really just does sound really cool.
They don't do anything like that for like the 2 discs. It just like starts making the blueprint design of the house again. It just gives you the options of
right
like, where's all that. But yeah, I'm gonna look it up now.
All right, yeah, and then send it to me so I can link it in the description. Yeah, you're really selling me on this special edition DVD. Now, here's what I'm gonna say. Like, looking at this standard edition that I own, it's not in the best condition. Like, it's actually pretty torn and beat up. Where did I don't even remember where I got this from, but it's one that like has shown. It's like one that I remember just finding in my collection one day, and it's like one I had never seen before, and it's like I definitely need, like, this is the kind of movie I made this podcast for. Like, yeah, I say the podcast is about my movie collection, but it, like, the reason I started it as like a podcast was so then I could like go through the movies that I had never seen before, and I could like, make a decision on whether I want to keep them or not. But I'm glad we talked about this, because this is not a very good DVD. Just like the slipcover on it is like all banged up and kind of ripped. It has like a preview DVD sticker on the back. So like, I guess I got this at like some like, I don't know, previously owned shop. But like the sticker is barely coming off, and it's just ripping apart the thing. And like you said, like it's just kind of limited in terms of features. Like,
it's just, I don't know, bare bones.
The DVD that you're describing sounds a lot more interesting.
With mine, I say definitely keep. And with you should really find this copy. It's a good,
yes.
I think it's the better version.
I think so. After watching the movie, I'm like, you know what? I could watch it again. So I probably would keep it in my collection, but not this edition that I have it on. I think the edition that you have, like, I would love that. Like, even if they made like a nicer Blu-ray, I feel like, I don't know, watching an early 2000s movie on like a much nicer Blu-ray, just, it won't hit the same unless it's from like a DVD. So like, I feel like I need that DVD quality to it. So
yes.
So yeah,
I don't think
this specific DVD is not a keep, but if I ever come into contact with that kind of special edition you're describing, I'm so keeping that.
Yeah. I don't think it's that hard to find online. I don't think it's like so expensive or anything. Like, I'm sure you can like buy like for like a few bucks or so. Maybe like on eBay or something like that. But yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. I know like sometimes like I'll go to like some kind of thrift stores and like I'll see like Panic Room there, but it's like the standard one. I'm just like, that's not it. I want the special edition, for God's sakes. So I want
the special edition.
Yeah, so like when I found like a copy like near me in like the one of the malls near me at Vintage Stock, which is a pretty cool place to go to find interesting stuff. I'm just like, oh my God, this one near me. Mom, take me there.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
All right, was there anything else you wanted to say about Panic Room, the DVD or the movie or anything before we wrap up?
Yeah, once again, shout out to my boy Burnham. He a real one, for real.
Yeah, for real.
I feel bad that he got caught in the end, but I mean, at least like he didn't have a fate. I mean, he didn't die or anything, but no, I hope
it is left to interpretation, like what happens. He does get caught, but like that's literally the last time we ever see him, which I did kind of prefer that. I'm glad we didn't get like where are they now? Like all we really got was Kristen Stewart and Jodie Foster looking through the wanted ads. So yeah.
No, I think they were just like looking for like a different place to live.
They're looking for a new place. They're just like, well, we gotta find a new place. Womp womp.
I'm sure Burnham spent his time. I'm sure he's out. I'm sure he's probably doing better now. I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah.
All right, then. I'd say that just about does it. Mordo, plug your stuff. Where can people find you?
I don't know, just the usuals. I mean, you find me on YouTube, find me on Twitter. I have a Tumblr now. I don't use it much, but if Twitter decides to hit itself one day, I'll remember you all.
and Letterboxd?
And my Letterboxd, of course, yeah. I really use that often. I know it's like it's funny because like I don't think I like recorded anything for like for a month. Like the last thing I like recorded was like the Disney sequel stuff. I'm not explaining why. And then my first time coming back, was fucking Pixels, because I was watching that with like some friends of mine in another server because they just bought it, and they started just play the movie in the streaming, and I'm just like, okay, I guess we're watching this now.
I guess we're watching Pixels.
But that was like it all started because like they were telling me about like they were at a store and they found like this like laugh out loud collection. I'm like, don't buy that. Those Sony movie collections are so shit. Just buy it. That's just a standalone copy. And of course, he found a copy of Pixels, and then
it's a ripoff. You will in fact not laugh out loud.
Yeah, because like I hate how like that's the thing. Because like those collections, they're so bare bones, and they just they just throw 2 movies into one disc, and it's just like so, and like a generic ass menu. It's just like so shit. I can't stand when Sony does that shit because they're so bad. Don't buy those.
Yeah,
avoid those at all costs. They're so bare bones. Just buy the standalone copies.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I completely agree. All right, then. I'd say that does do it. Well, thank you, Mordo, for coming on the podcast talking about Dunkirk and Panic Room. And
hey, no problem. Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
Yeah, totally.
Ever since my last return was the holiday special.
Oh yeah, no. I forgot. I was gonna make a joke at the beginning. I'm like, we're gonna talk about another Christopher Nolan movie, the Star Wars Holiday Special. And then
no. Yeah.
Anyway,
like, just remember, just like when I started off like this. Wait a minute, this ain't a Nolan movie. You tricked me. Yeah. What the fuck is? I hope that applied that maybe like I wanted to come back to just talk about Nolan movies with you.
Oh, don't worry. There's plenty more Nolan movies to talk about.
But now you guys know the running bit that we're doing, so there you go.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you all next time. And always remember, the animals are leaving, and so are we. Bye-bye, everybody.
Peace out! Teaching the world.